All right, RealAgriculture.com. I am Lyndsey Smith. I am joined by Bernard Tobin, our Ontario correspondent. It's time to talk politics, and very specifically, the Ontario Premier, Ag Minister. She's done something quite dramatic. Maybe tell us a little bit about where the provincial government sits as far as their popularity and support, and what happened this week, or last week, I guess.
Well, a lot of things have happened. When you look, the Liberal government has survived. Kathleen Wynne has been in office for 100 days. This week they've got support from the NDP on their budget. So she survived. They're going to truck on. There will be no summer or spring election. They've got the NDP on side. The Progressive Conservatives are sitting off, stewing on the sidelines, wanting to end this thing. But she's going to carry on as the Prime Minister and the Agriculture Minister, which is interesting. She's we'll talk about it. It's a little different role for the Agriculture Minister. She's done a lot of things. She's been out talking to commodity groups and coming up, with local food policies and various other things. But really preoccupied these days with horse racing.
This is a little interesting because as we were talking off camera, horse racing hasn't really even been typically in the agriculture portfolio, and now you've got a premier who is ag minister, and actually one of the biggest kind of crises really in front of her is the what the former government really has kind of set in motion in pulling back the horse racing industry. But she's actually now sacked the head of the Ontario Lotteries and Gaming Group. And what does this mean for horse racing?
Well, the horse racing people are pretty happy about that. Just to step back, about a little over a year ago, Ontario Lottery and Gaming, with Paul Godfrey as its head, basically said, hey, let's get rid of horse racing. Let's take all the slot machines out of the racetracks and put them into these casinos that we want to build.
Right,
and Mr. McGuinty and his finance minister, Dwight Duncan, said, hey, that's a great idea. We need the money. But they didn't think about the public policy implications of that. And as we've seen over the last year, that industry touches or about 50,000 jobs, full-time, part-time, in Ontario, most of them in rural Ontario. And as time has gone on, we've seen, racetracks closing, a lot of people leaving the industry, horses being shipped to slaughter and out of this province. And Kathleen Wynne has come in and said, guys, this doesn't make sense. We've got to change this modernization, strategy for OLG and get horse racing back in.
Right.
Well, Mr. Godfrey didn't agree with that, and he also, hiked executive compensation for members of OLG and cooked up a special deal that would give extra money to Toronto for their casino, none of which was palatable for Ms. Wynne. And she said, horse racing, executive salaries, special deals, you're fired.
And that's the end of it. Now, but it brings us to sort of what could have been then from the horse racing side, perhaps a good deal in that. So Mr. Godfrey goes. So hey, now is there support for expanding a casino at Woodbine? But something else is going on there with the I don't know how you describe the Toronto mayor. I really don't. The man can't seem to stay out of the papers, and not for good things. So what's going on there?
Well, I think everybody's aware of Rod Ford's predicament and his situation with the Toronto Star reporting on the situation with crack cocaine.
Yes.
Anyway, this week was also the time where Toronto was going to decide whether they're going to have a downtown casino, in the core of Toronto, and basically, they voted, strongly against it. 40-4 was the council debate. So that was good news for the horse racing business, because that casino goes away, and then there's an opportunity that Woodbine, which is the major leagues of racing, also with the slots and the casino, could sort of grow. And again, that would filter down and be good for the horse racing industry. Well, what does Mr. Ford do but get up and say, I'm not going to support that casino anymore. I think we should have slots and gaming and expand Woodbine.
Right.
And the poor horse racing industry is saying, no.
Yeah.
It turned into an anti-Ford vote, and
Right.
they killed the expansion
Right.
at Woodbine as well. So that's bad news, because now, with no expansion of gaming in Toronto, they'll look to put a casino potentially in Vaughan or in Newmarket, which is a neighboring community,
Yeah.
and siphon off the business that goes
Right.
to Woodbine. So we
somehow,
went from having a downtown slot casino
right.
to basically the end of potentially, the end of gambling in Toronto.
Right, completely. So, and this is, as we've talked before, the standardbred industry has certainly been hardest hit this year with the Slots at Racetrack program going away, and what, sort of the new deals that have been struck up. It's been very difficult for the standardbred industry, but this now threatens the thoroughbred industry. And so it's just become a giant schmozzle, really.
Yeah.
And
we don't know. I mean, Premier Wynne has basically asked the OMAFRA panel, which did a lot of work on this,
Right.
to come up with a new report to reintegrate horse racing into the gaming strategy. We're going to see that
Okay.
in June. So everybody's excited about that.
Right, okay.
But here comes this decision that sort of knocks them for another loop. So we'll see what they're going to come up with.
Now, so as Ag Minister, as Premier, I find it interesting that there's sort of all these different levels of politics sort of involved in this, but all of it's sort of going the wrong way. So thank you so much, Byrne, for your insight on this. Let's talk again when that report maybe comes out and see what happens there, and let's maybe keep tabs on this. But certainly just a whole series of really unfortunate events. So
as we said, it was funny. I mean, the agriculture minister in Ontario never ever thought about horse racing.
Yeah.
And Ms. Wynne is going to be thinking about horse racing for a long time.
Yes, I think so. Okay, well, thank you, Byrne, and we'll check in again soon.
Good stuff.